Most migrants from third world countries such as ours consider migrating to more developed countries like the US, west of Europe, Canada, and Australia. But what about the idea of migrating to a country under development? For instance, India. Most of you will sound like, oh, what the hell, no, India, never. But first, hear me out. The normal approach to convince someone to go to a country would be to state how great the country is, how good the social services are, and how insightful the education national system is, how impeccable the healthcare is. But since India was a mere 25 years ago still considered a poor third world country, these criteria, if applied to India, will only convince you not to go to India because of how bad it would stand compared to the whole world. However, the approach I'm going to take here will be the one of the future. Located in south of Asia on the Indian Ocean, India is a huge country. Its surface is an enormous 3.3 square kilometers, with a gigantic population of 1.2 billion persons. It has got altitudes varying from 8.5 kilometers at the Kanchenjunga mountain and at sea level. It has also a coastline of 7,000 kilometers square and has many freshwater sources as well as natural resources. Historically, the first Indian urban civilization started 4.5 thousand years ago. It is one of the oldest and the greatest in the world. India has an amazing culture. This ancient civilization left behind amazing monuments. By seeing them, you get beautiful exposure to one of the world's greatest cultures. Since it is that big, it has many different habitats in relation to the different climates available. For example, it has many beaches, it has beautiful mountains, forests, deserts like the Thar deserts that occupies 200,000 square kilometers of land, and at the end it's got also snow. You would think all of this would make India a top tourist destination, but you'd be wrong. Amidst all of this, in 2013 India only had around 6.8 million tourists visit its shores. This number is very mediocre compared to France's 85 million. But, as proved earlier, India has the capacity and the resources to attract much more tourists than it actually does. Sadly though, it doesn't. That is most probably due to bad territorial management. However, this means that there is plenty of room to do projects of tourism in India. You can easily flourish there with a small touristic project. I mean, tourism is a multi-billion industry, and it can become a multi-billion in India in the next few years, so why not become part of this boom? Now, as I said earlier, India was considered a third world country 25 years ago. But what suddenly happened? In 1991, it abandoned protectionism from the West and started taking a more multicultural approach to the ruling of their country and to the management of their economy. As a result of this, India is now a member of the BRICS, which is a geographical term used to describe the extremely fast development of the economies of Brazil, Russia, India, and China. The GDP of India is now equal to $4.9 trillion. It is the fourth highest in the world. It has a massive labor force of 487 million men and women who are classified and or ready to work. In the last 23 years, its GDP increased 17 times. Now India is now the 10th most powerful economy in the world and is expected to be the 4th most powerful in 2022 according to the Telegraph. So why not go to India and be a part of the boom? Now India has many different animals. It is esteemed that it contains 60 to 70% of the world's biodiversity. These animals are protected by 89 national parks and more than 400 wildlife sanctuaries. This diversity is due to the versatility of the territory mentioned above. These animals can contribute a huge part of research documentaries as well as medical research. Also maybe build zoos, maybe build the world's largest zoo. this relates to you in a way because it's a field of study that can offer many job opportunities. Now, Indian food is extremely famous all around the world, to the point that in the UK there's an annual curry festival that presents the finest of Indian cuisine. So don't worry, you will eat well and their food is easily appreciated. And naturally, the best place to eat it would be India. Now, Indian art is just fantastic. The country is extremely artistic. Indians value art highly. For example, Indian dances are really famous. I mean, most of us have at least seen once a performance of an Indian dance. Indian songs might not be famous at all in the entire world, but are dare you not to recognize that an Indian song is Indian, not Japanese or Chinese, for example. Now, India has a massive film industry that produces per year twice the number of films that Hollywood produces. Bollywood has become extremely famous all over the world. It is a $6.2 billion industry, and their films have been translated to many languages. Just a few months ago, NBC launched its first channel of Indian movies in the Arab world, called NBC Bollywood, that plays Indian movies translated into Arabic. After all, no one could forget what My Name is Khan did to the scene in the world. Now, another proof that India is undergoing social progress can be found within most of our private and public universities in Egypt. Yes, actually, ever wondered why each year the Isaac Club goes to India? I mean, Isaac, it's a club that develops leadership skills with young people, and every year they go either to India, either to Brazil, and both of them are members of the BRICS. Now, what about the Indian educational system? India has 10 of the best 60 universities in Asia, which is not good at all, I'm not gonna lie. All of them are ranked under 400 in the whole wide university ranking system. Education isn't their strongest points, which is why most Indians study abroad. Nevertheless, it is expected to boom in the future, but until that happens, I suggest that you finish your studies abroad and then go to India. Or if you have kids there, just send them to one of the international high schools there, like you would have done in Egypt, and they will eventually study the same curriculums of Europe and North America. And when the time comes to go to university, they should continue their studies abroad. Then they can perhaps return back to India. Now, the Indian culture is huge. It is shocking. So a cultural shock upon arrival is highly expected. For your information, a cultural shock can have serious effects on us, generating negative thoughts that can vary from a mild discomfort to a depression. But don't despair. Nicholas Kapoor, an American man with his fiancée who went to live in India for a year, explained that you can easily cure the shock by simply going to one of many nearby amazing luxury hotels where everything is westernized. Just go there, sit in the lobby, and they will take care of you. Hotel managers understand that you, as a foreigner, need a break from your new adventurous Indian life. So even if you are not a customer of the hotel, you will be greeted in a remarkable way and even offered a refreshing beverage just for the sake of relaxing. Try doing that in the States. Now, I just want to add a few simple stats and facts that might interest you. The Indian Army is the fourth most powerful in the world, so rest assured an invasion while you're there is highly unlikely. Now, Indian women can be really beautiful. Nina Dabuluri, an American woman living with Indian origins, won Miss America in 2014. And in India too there is a shatoff, although not as popular as in Egypt, but you can still buy one. About Indian nightlife, it exists, and here's the proof. Just look at the picture. If you don't believe me, go search for yourself, as I decided not to fill my slides with that. I should also add that 1 liter of petrol 95 octane would cost you 1.15 US dollar. However, a Mac Chicken Combo Medium would cost you 160 Indian rupees, which is equivalent to 2.67 US dollar. In general, life is relatively cheaper in India. There are mosques and churches, and you will be able to practice your religion. Other problems with India is traffic. It is just like Cairo, if not worse. Finally, if you are worried about the language, most Indians understand English. It is even considered an official language alongside Hindi. I guess that's just the remains of the British colonization. Now, let me give you my personal advice about migrating to India. If you remember, if you are from the lower society, just don't go. But if you are from the higher society, you have plenty of opportunities there. With 8.8% of unemployment and with a huge labor force and with 29.8% of the population who live under the poverty line, opportunities are just abundant. They're everywhere. You have massive chances. You can do so much in India. Currently there are a lot of Indians who used to live abroad and were born in the States, Canada, that came back to India to seek opportunity because a boom is happening in India. So over there in India, it's very cheap. Hiring is extremely cheap. So once you go there, you might as well be really successful, much more easy than in a developed country, for instance. Now, in addition to these reasons, stats, and experiences I mentioned above, here is a quote of an Indian American who moved back to India that summarizes everything. He says that he's here because there's 1.2 billion people and a lot of ways to service them. And at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of money to be made. Even a small dent in the vast Indian market has the potential to be larger than the US population. Finally, the decision is yours, not mine. I'm here to help you think through it and make things easier for you. So if you decide to migrate to India, here are the instructions to applying for a permanent residency or a citizenship while sitting at your living room. Now, at the end, as Mr. Matthew Hendershot said, Mr. Matthew Hendershot, for your information, is he works with migrants all over his life. He's been to maybe 80 countries. He speaks 9 languages, and his company works from the benefits of migrants. He said that India is a small world inside a world. He said that India is a world on its own, from snow to desert, from extremely rich billionaires to poor people that can die because of hunger.